Why, hello, it's Amy with Just a Little Ink. I'm so glad that you are joining me today. I have a fun project to share with you. It's using the Memorable Blooms stamp set. I shared it last week on a live, and I want to share it again with another unique idea. It's a simple technique. It looks a whole lot more complicated than it really is, but I'm hoping that you find it very helpful. So I'm going to switch the camera over and get right at it. So let's see if we can get this going here. It's coming from the Memorable Blooms bundle, and I'm using the bundle today in more parts of it than I have in the past. It's a red rubber cling mount stamp set and coordinating die set, and I'm going to focus on this very detailed die. And you can find it in our mini catalog, or obviously on our online store, which I think in some respects is almost easier because all you have to do is type in this in the search bar and it'll pull up what's available. But if you have a physical catalog or you're looking at one, it's on page 50. The bundle itself is $55.75 US before any shipping or tax. And if you add just $4.25, which I believe is a pack of dimensionals, you may qualify enough to get one of the level 1 host or celebration items out of our celebration brochure. And level 1 is with any $60 purchase before shipping and tax. That's the level 1s, and there's quite a number of them. And then level 2s hit at $120 US before shipping and tax, and those are at the latter part of this brochure. But you'll be prompted for all of that in the ordering. If you choose to place an order, I would be so appreciative if you'd use my host code. That is good through the month of February, and I send thank you notes to all of my online orders, and a special little gift if you go over. So if you spend that $60, you're definitely going to get a little teeny something extra from me. So I'm going to just jump into this and kind of share my parts and my pieces. I'm using very simple products. So I'm using Petal Pink cardstock. It's a half a sheet. It's cut at the horizontal. So it's a 5.5 by 8.5, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. Basic color here, basic card design. And then I've got another piece that is 4 inches by 5 1/4. Another piece of basic white that's the same size, 4 inches by 5 1/4. And then I've got a couple other pieces. This is from the Country Lace Designer Series paper. It's got all kinds of different, very soft, it's hard kind of to see, I'll get it closer to the camera. See, very detailed kind of eyelet lace look. And this piece is 3.5 by 3.5, and then I've got a scrap piece of basic white that's about 2 1/4 inches square. So that's all the pieces you need to make this card. You're going to want your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And I'm going to kind of just step through kind of how I did this. So you're going to line up on the 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece. And this detailed part comes off. It's got kind of almost a lace kind of edge that embosses around. And so what you're going to do, you could measure this if you're super anal, but you want it centered on the front. And if you'll use, I like to use Post-it note tape. It just helps to kind of hold that without tearing up your cardstock, which is the nice part about it. You could put a couple of them in here if you feel it's necessary for that. I'm going to lift it up just for a second, only because I'm going to be putting another one on here and I want to kind of hold it. So I'm just going to do this for the moment. And I'm going to attach this other one, this other side that's the very detailed part. You're going to put it in the center and make sure that it's got an even edge. So just a little bit of a gap that kind of comes around here. And so then if you'll take your Post-it note tape and kind of hold a little bit on both sides, and then I'm going to take another one over on this other side, and then kind of share with how I would do that. So then you have here, so then you can run it through. Let me grab my machine. I'm not going to actually deal with all of it, but I am going to show you kind of how that would go. So I'd put it in between. You're going to have your base plate, which is the number 1. You're going to have the extra shim, which is the number 2. You're going to put a cutting plate, which is a number 3. Put your project on here. It's often helpful to kind of angle it a little bit so it doesn't come through straight. Then you're going to put a number 3 on top, and you'll run that through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. This is the large machine because this is wider than 3 inches. You can use the mini if you're 3 inches or less. So then I'm going to set that aside because we're not going to actually cut it because I already did it. So when you come through, you're going to end up with these 2 pieces. So I have my detailed piece here, and I have my cutout, and you'll see that pretty detail on the front of the card. And so we're going to be doing both. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to deal with the center in a minute and kind of see how I want to do this. I'm going to come up here. I think I do have to run one thing through that machine that I didn't do ahead of time. So I'm going to go ahead and fold my card base in half and use my bone folder. And get a nice crisp fold here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that piece of Designer Series paper and I'm going to center it on the base of my card. I kind of have a point in doing so. Let me grab my Stampin' Seal. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in the center just so that I have a backing of that beautiful lace. And as long as I'm mostly in the center there, we're good. Okay. Then I can pop up this piece with dimensionals. Find where I put my dimensionals. Okay, so I use all of my dimensionals. Hopefully you are someone who has figured out that you can use the entire sheet. So I'm going to come across here and over here, come up over this section, and then you want to make sure that you're kind of getting in between here. So what I've done is I come up to the sides here with full ones. If you were real worried, you could put 2 more here. What I'm going to choose to do is come in and snip along the outside edges of my Stampin' Dimensionals and just come across here, because these work so well for those smaller areas that we often struggle to find something small enough to fit into. So this is going to work great to pop this piece up. I'm going to do the same thing over here. And then I'm going to go ahead in those other sections, and just because I'd like to make sure that it lifts up. Maybe a couple more. So I'll come across to here. Like so. So I can put my dimensionals away. And then I'm going to start peeling off the backs. Having nails does seem to help with that. What I'm going to do is I'm only going to pull them off on about half of that. We'll see how well I can finish all of this with with it being sticky. Get into your face, hopefully not too much. When you're recording, it sometimes kind of an interesting part. So I'm going to come in here. I want an even section on the sides and on the top, like so. And then that's where, if I come in, do I have that? Oh, you know what? I went the opposite way, but that works, I guess, doesn't it? So then I can pull off the other portions of those backs. Sometimes it's just, it sticks really solid. Hey Kathy, it's good to see you on. Come across like so, and that way I've got this part ready, but then I want to deal with my detailed section. I'm going to grab a scrap piece of paper, just because I find it's helpful when I'm coloring. So grab it out of my trash here. So I'm going to do with Stampin' blends, and Stampin' blends have a tendency to bleed, so I'm going to use 3 different colors. I've got the light version of Wild Wheat. I'm going to use the light version of Old Olive, and I'm also going to use the light version of Moody Mauve. They coordinate really well with the Petal Pink. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to start coloring on my detailed portion. So I'm going to do the centers with the Wild Wheat. And then I'm going to come in with my Moody Mauve from the flowers. And you don't have to push much. It doesn't take much because that will bleed quite a little bit. So kind of come up like so. You just don't want to touch too much in areas that you don't want it to be that color. But it will blend in really quick, which I liked about this. And then the hardest part really is deciding what is the flower color and what is leaves, and where to start and stop it all. But I was real impressed with how it really brightened up this detailed section. So I came in like so. See how fast I can go. And I kind of thought that this part was more flower. And I came in on this section. You can, it's interesting, you can get a couple parts of it, both flower and leaf. And so I came up here, and there's a little bit of an edge along here. So I just came up with my blend. And I should note, I'm using the bullet tip. These have a brush tip as well if you're covering a bigger amount of space. Come like so. And then I want it just a little bit here. The rest of that I'm deciding is leaf. So I'm going to come along like so. I've got a little much over here, but I wanted it to be flower. And so then the rest of it's going to be leaves. So I was going to grab and kind of fill in the sections that I haven't colored already. And the nice thing about this is if you decided you want them different colors, you can have different colors of flowers even. Like so. I like the fact that I could use my blends on something that's actually not coloring in a stamped image. kind of a fun way to use them. And I tried to use our adhesive sheets with this, and I think if you were only using this die cut portion, or if you did it in 2 steps, you could get away with using adhesive sheets, but it's difficult when it's already cut to try to use it. So I'm going to use my detailed multi-purpose liquid glue to put that down on the center. And I like the fact that I could put this as an inset on my card without having it popped up. So it kind of sets in just a little bit more interest. I colored it all in there. You could go back over if you wanted to blend with light and dark. You probably could do that too. I didn't, but thinking that's an option. So see how I did? Whoops, let's see one piece. So you can keep going over them. So then I'm going to come in and just use, whoops, before I do that, almost forgot. I liked using my Wink Stella on here because I liked the glimmer that it gave. And it kind of just brightened up everything. Are you someone who uses a lot of Wink Stella or a little bit of Wink Stella? If I use it, I'll be honest, I tend to use just a little bit normally. This is probably the most I've used in a long time. So kind of just all over it. It'll dry really super quick. And then I'm going to turn it over, and since I have my silicone mat here, I pull it out. It'll be a lot better with using my glue on it. And I've got my little precision tip. I don't know if I can keep it on there. My little precision tip for my glue, so that I don't glob out too much. You don't need too much on here. Don't worry too much if it hits everywhere, as long as there's enough of it that's touched. So I'll set that out of the way. And then it's just a matter of putting it in the center of the opening. Well, maybe. So, there we go. Being a little stubborn. Like that. And then you have to have bees, because these come, these cute little tiny bee embellishments come in this, I'm not sure if they're in this bundle. I think they are. I'm going to put just a little bit of glue down. And I'll pick up one with my Take Your Pick tool. They're just too fun. So I'll put it down there, hopefully not blob too much, and then when it dries, I will have an adorable card on the front with no greetings yet, but a card. So then what I chose to do for my greetings, I'm going to take my white here, and I've got some of the Moody Mauve ink. I'd agree, Kathy. You can't go wrong with Wink Stella. So then I decided I liked this thank you. It's a thanks so much. I really like the mixed fonts of this set, that you've got some cursive and yet you've got some solid straight lined type image font. So I'm going to stamp that in the center so that I've got my greeting. I'll clean that up later. And then on my inside, I liked, there's one that says, I appreciate your thoughtfulness. And I I liked that stamp. Lined up so it's not crooked. Thankfully we have two sides of our paper, and I can set it on the inside like so. So I can put this on the inside, put my ink away so I'm not putting color all over everything else. Grab my Stampin' seal, put on the inside, and then I do need to die cut because I wanted a stitched circle. You could use our Stylish Shapes dies. They've got a nice stitched circle, but I kind of liked the die that came with the changing leaves. This is a online exclusive from probably this last fall, and so I'm going to use the circle that comes with that one. I liked how it was just big enough. Line it up on there. Again, I can use some of my Post-it note tape. And run it through my machine because I forgot to do it ahead of time. I'll quickly run it through. It over here, and then I'm going to put a couple dimensionals on the back. Probably really only need one. Regular old dimensionals here, yes. And just stick one in the center. And put it on the front. Like so, and it makes a cute card, very detailed and beautiful without a lot of effort and work. So thank you for joining me. It's been good to stamp with you today. If you have any questions, reach out. Otherwise, I will look forward to seeing you again next Thursday, 2 o'clock, and have a great week.